Listen, I'm easy to find. And listen, they can kiss my ass if they don't like it.
Yo, YouTube, what's going on? It's Nathan back with another video presentation. Happy Friday if you're on the West Coast, and it's Saturday morning. It's 1:51 in the morning. This is what episode are we on? 12? 13 of Big Nate Talk Podcast. I'm Nathan. I hope each and every one of you had a great week. Hope everyone's staying safe and getting ready for the weekend. We got some crazy weather upon us. Yeah, man, a couple things wanted to get in for today's episode. Before we get into this, some things to say up front. Episode 12, and we're about 8 through now 12 that has not been uploaded on Spotify. So please be patient with me as I, excuse me, need to upload those videos. And this episode is kind of going to be a little hectic. This is going to be kind of a big episode tonight. I'm prepared. I'm going to vent on the Ravens and the Washington football team, their season review. Then we're going to break the NFL wild card weekend down. We've got 6 teams, three AFC, 3 NFC teams. Apparently, with Major League Baseball, there was really no progress. The proposal was made, but we will see. As far as a couple of things other than that with baseball, that was it. We also got the Wizards versus Orlando Magic, and we play the Portland Trail Blazers. So I'm going to give a preview on that. I know we play the Sixers. I think it's Monday, and I'm not looking forward to that game. Maryland basketball, we barely escaped with a W against Northwestern. We play Rutgers today, and the women also play Michigan. So I'll talk about those games. Towson Basketball, and then W free agency as of midnight this evening has officially started. Let the chaos begin, because I'm afraid for the Washington Mystics. I'm looking at the clock here. I feel like we already know what's what. So if you're liking the content, you want to see more like this, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Continue to hit that like, comment, and subscribe along with notification bells on. Bring your sports game. So let's get into it. So I'm gonna start off. Baltimore Ravens. 8-9 was the final record for what the team, how we performed. Our record says what we are. We, as far as playoff admirations, did not exceed certain expectations. With that being said, I was not expecting some things to happen this off season. This past off season, I wasn't expecting injuries. I was not expecting the team to really lack. There's a lot of things that are a must that the Ravens need to improve on. Let's talk about it. So 7-10 is not. It's 8-9. Excuse me, is not what I would expect it. I think it really started, honestly and truthfully, after the Miami game, and for this team to had not made the adjustments pertaining to the offense. Let's keep it real. From your offense to being 13th in pass and 3rd in rushing, I am not going to lie. I think those are positives you could take away. But when it comes down to most is poor execution. We're seeing guys bump into each other. The play clock is expiring. It just looks really undisciplined. And I'm looking at Greg Roman, and look, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Okay, we know what Greg Roman is, and we know what he sees it. He sees it. He's tunnel vision. He sees it one way. It looks like a high school offense. I get it. I think the biggest thing is I think as Raven fans, I think sometimes let me say it like this. I feel like sometimes the Raven fans, we kind of pick and choose our battles. 1 minute we want a Greg Roman to pass the ball. He does that, and obviously there are certain situations where just run the ball. Well, then why not just run the ball? And I feel like, again, when you're ranked third in rushing and 13th in pass, what more do you want? Greg Roman, people can call for the man's job all he wants, but I think the biggest thing we got to look into is he adhering what Keith Williams, T. Martin, even James Urban, the quarterback coach, is he adhering to what they're saying? If he's not, then that's different. Because let's keep it real. He didn't have his 2 all-pro tackles, with Orlando Brown Jr. obviously kind of putting Baltimore in this pickle where we honestly and truthfully should have checked them. Let me just say this for the record. I have no beef, no ill will towards Orlando Brown Jr. I wish him well. I hope he's doing big things in Kansas City. I'm proud of him. He's getting his money. But I think the way how he handled this situation when out of Baltimore, I thought was, in my honest opinion, I thought it was selfish. I did. One thing I don't understand, you're going to get your money. Like if Lamar Jackson was left-handed, he would be protecting his blind side. Regardless, we should, again, the one common goal is win football games. This is not about money. And to me, I just feel like he just put the Ravens in this situation. And to really see that not truly addressed, your response to that is signing a guy way past his prime in Alejandro Villanueva. By the way, thank you for your service. And then turn around and sign the guy who's coming off an Achilles injury, suffered when he was, whatever happened, if it was off the facility or not, with Jawan James, former Denver Bronco. That's who you signed. That's who your replacements were for Orlando Brown Jr. Ronnie Stanley. I'm not concerned, but one foot is the door is starting to open, because now this is now 2 years. We're going into an off season, another season, him getting paid, and he's missed because of injuries. When healthy, he's the best left tackle in the game. But if you're Baltimore, you're at some point you are really going to have to address this. I still think he's all world. I still think he'll be back. Personally, he just was not. He was not ready to come back this year. He just wasn't. When you look at, granted, he didn't have J.K. Dobbins or Gus Edwards, and he didn't have Lamar Jackson for 4.5 games. I think those things have to be taken into consideration. Now, I do think some things have to change offensively. I really think this offense has to be better disciplined. And I think also, too, he's going to have to when I feel like Harbaugh, because usually it's about right around before the Super Bowl, Harbaugh has his press conference. If he comes out and says, well, we're not going to make changes, that's when he's doesn't say anything. That's how you know he's going to stay with his staff. Now, personally, he probably is going to have somebody do the play calling else, but I do feel like it has gotten stale the last 3 years, the last couple years, and I honestly, truthfully, do blame it on Greg Roman. I think Greg, again, there's just no way you just can't tell me that you can win with this kind of system. Again, he got to the Super Bowl in San Francisco and lost, unfortunately. Buffalo. I do think that, let's say by next season, if we see the same thing, yes, he's going to have to go. But let's see what he looks like with a healthy offense and probably some retooling. To sign Sammy Watkins, and I get it. Granted, he was injured, but I feel like he just didn't get the. I don't know. I felt like he just didn't fit. I feel like Baltimore could look for another wide receiver. The offensive line has to be retooled. Again, once again, here I'm talking about, you gave Patrick McCarr a 3-year deal, and I'm like, no, I don't like that. Let's also talk about this narrative that was created, that there was competition between Lamar and Tyler Huntley. That never happened. I don't even know where that came from. I think that was a stretch. And also too, here's the thing. Lamar Jackson, you got to see what he's going to look like next year. I personally believe he'll get it together. But me personally, I'm gonna say it, the league still has not figured out Lamar Jackson. I think the league has figured out Greg Roman's system, and we do have to at some point address that, because I feel like they've outgrown it, and I really need to see what this team healthy next season's going to do with Greg Roman at its helm. If it's not getting the job done, then we move on from him. Because I feel like if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But I know I'm not a staunch he needs to be fired. I do think he needs to make adjustments. And I think we have been saying that. We have been saying this for the last couple years now. But at the end of the day, sometimes we got to look at these players. My number one wide receiver, my number two option, number one wide receiver, Marquise Brown, seasonally should not have that many drops. Just shouldn't. Mark Andrews should not be the GOAT. I mean, he should be the one option, but I shouldn't look to him every play. When Tyler Huntley comes out and after the game in Pittsburgh, where he talked about Huntley, that was where he was not comfortable throwing the ball to Bateman because there was a flat defender. So I went to Mark Andrews because I was comfortable throwing to him. That lets me know that you have no confidence in your wide receiver and you have no confidence in yourself as a quarterback. Those are the little things that bother me about that. Defensively, same thing. Martindale, I think for Martindale, it has gotten a little stale. I ain't gonna lie. I think Martindale's going to have to change some things up when it comes to this blitzing package. I just feel like it never worked. I think he was overly too aggressive with it. The Ravens, they need a ball hawking safety. Let me give you 3 names: Ed Reed, Jim Leonard, Eric Waddle. Because I think one year Jim Leonard had over 130 sacks. The Ravens don't have that. I feel like it could be Deshaun Elliott, but can't stay healthy. When your options as corner, and again, I'm just saying it, not me, I was not comfortable with giving Tavon Young a 3-year deal. I was not comfortable with that because of the injuries. I feel like Baltimore could have went younger with that. They're going to have to address that defensive line. Adafe Owe, he really quieted down the stretch. I was looking for him and I couldn't find him. Calais Campbell, Brandon Williams, as great as they are, I feel like they can come. I would sign them on veteran minimum deals, but then I'm going younger. Derek Wolfe, same thing. Got to figure out how to get under that contract. I will keep Justin Houston because he has some veteran shit. You got Pernell McPhee, Josh Burns. You have a lot of guys that's over 30 on this, particularly on that defensive side of the ball. You can go younger. I'm disappointed in Jalen Ferguson. I thought he would have had a big year. That he would have definitely stepped up. Patrick Queen, I have to give him some love. He definitely played well, stepped up. And then we probably lost arguably the most consistent player on the linebacking core was Tyus Bowser, who just had his Achilles. I just had his surgery. So I'm sending my thoughts and some of my prayers and get well soon, my brother. We have to be honest with ourselves. I'd say both their seats are about the same. I think they're hot, but they both have cases to come back next year. I do think Martindale is going to have to make some adjustments to how he is on defense, because when you're that terrible against the pass, something ain't working. When you having guys miss assignments, blown coverages, poorly executed blitzing plays, that can't happen. I'm looking at what they have to address next year. It's going to be a really interesting off season. It really is, because there's a lot of things they're going to have to address. The biggest thing this team is for the Ravens is they're going to have to stay healthy. They got to get everybody healthy first. I think that's the most important thing. Now I think you're going to have to, number 2, on defense, develop an identity. Now, I did some homework. This is what's going to hit the free agency market. Justin Houston, Anthony Averett, Calais Campbell, Deshaun Elliott, Brandon Williams, Pernell McPhee, Josh Burns, Jimmy Smith, LJ Fort, Tony Jefferson, and Adam Levine. But I probably on this list, Justin Houston would be somebody I would bring back. Tony Jefferson, Burns, maybe LJ Fort. But I feel like Baltimore could go younger. When you've got 10 picks this year in the draft, I feel like Baltimore could go younger. Calais Campbell's, I know there's rumors about him about retiring. And I just think if you want to bring back Brandon Williams, he's going to have to take less money. That's just me. Again, also to this, and again, I want to give a shout out to Quadri Ishmael because I was on the Twitter space with him and Sarah Ellison. He talked about this. Now, we have a strengthening coach. Let me look up his name really quick. And somebody hits. I got to give one of my buddies. Shout out to AJ. He had hit me up, and he said, "Hey, you know that that head strengthening and conditioning coach was the coach that was responsible for last season the guys getting COVID." And I said, "Steve Saunders?" And he's like, "Yeah, that's the guy." And I'm like, "Huh?" So I let me do some research. I'm like, "Oh wow!" So this was the guy that they didn't want to say who it was. because last year he was the main culprit coming into the facility, not masked, not wearing the contract tracing button, whatever it was, and guys unfortunately got getting COVID. And there were 2 games where we really needed a lot of guys. And personally, I think he should go. It's not because of that. I just think it's the amount of injuries, but it's also I think this is just a league-wide thing. I think it's the way guys are conditioning, and I just think there's no we need to rest. I think these guys are just all over the place when it comes to, they're training here, they're training there. It's just about listening to your body. And these guys, and I feel like with him, he had a lot of injuries this year. I think it was almost like 30, a lot of key players. So it wouldn't faze me if they look for new athletic, head athletic and conditioning coach. It wouldn't faze me. So that defense is going to have to be fixed. Another thing is too, I'm looking at the salary cap. It's going to be very, very interesting how they address some things. Now, I did some more homework as I'm pulling up my Word document. So the cap's not looking that great, but like when I'm looking at this, the Ravens, they're going to have to make some adjustments. And I mean, a couple guys they're going to think about, can they restructure Marcus Peters, his contract? I don't know. Ronnie Stanley Boyle. I really think when I'm looking at this, this is a very, very, very tough salary cap. So this year, projected we will have about a little over $12 million in the cap with 48 of our guys under contract, because the projection for the salary cap is supposed to be over $200 million. That's what's $25.7 million of increase from last year, because COVID last year was 182.5 million dollars. Okay, and then on top of that, so that's less than $20 million, and that's not good. And I'm looking at some of these contracts again. Ronnie Stanley, Marcus Peters, Marlon Humphrey. Some of these guys, I hate to say it, they're going to be open to take a pay cut. They're going to restructure or restructure some of these deals, because if I'm trying to run it back, because the window to win the Super Bowl is starting to close, and me personally, I know when for me, I'm a numbers guy, and the biggest thing is I don't like is when you're under a certain amount of money in cap, you don't have a lot of wiggle room. And shout out to front office of the Baltimore Ravens. They usually know how to make some wiggle room, but there's some guys that may have to get their deal restructured, or we're just going to have to move on from them. Now, Lamar Jackson. The biggest pressure Lamar Jackson is under is him putting his Johnny Cochran on the dotted line. Okay. His mother is his agent. I've heard all the noise, people talking about he needs to get an agent. To me, that's the biggest pressure he's under, because the moment he signs that contract, and I'm telling you, it's going to happen, these guys in the media are going to be on him like hawks. And hypothetically speaking, let's say Lamar Jackson, the Baltimore Ravens' opportunity to win the Super Bowl closes. You know what they're going to say? This is exactly why you don't give a mobile quarterback $40+ million. This is why you should go after a quarterback like Patrick Mahomes, Drew Brees, Josh Allen, Tom Brady. Like, these are the quarterbacks you go after. He's going to be the poster child if he does not win a championship. Because I believe Lamar Jackson will win a championship. Lamar Jackson's, yes, has shown his peaks and valleys. He has shown that. He has shown his struggles this year. I'm not going to deny that. But if you understand, look, for the first year, this was the first year where he beat a team where he threw for 400 yards. I think, again, some of it also too. When you don't help your best player make the adjustments. I mean, the offense. I mean, but the offensive line game failing to protect him. He definitely struggled to read deep to what defenses were giving him, and I think a lot of it had to do with because again, Mr. Greg Roman is not. He's just so. Think of it like this: when you're so monotone, this is how it should be going. Blah 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 blah. One way, and you don't see there's a detour or there's take this right or take this left. There's no adjustments, and I think again. I believe the NFL has figured out Greg Roman's offense, not Lamar Jackson. And again, holding on to the ball too long, trying to make plays with his legs, and then also too, I mean, this is the most interceptions he's thrown this year. So I feel like in his fifth season, this will be his fifth year, I think it'll be better. When you've got two wide receivers, when you got your number one and number two options, I have to give them credit. They both eclipsed 1,000 yards. I haven't seen that since the great, not the singer, Michael Jackson. Now we had Michael Jackson play for the Baltimore Ravens back in the day, rest in peace, and Mr. Derek Alexander. Hadn't seen that, but I'm looking at Rashard Bateman. I saw in the press in the exit interview, he looks motivated. He looks hungry for next year. You've got Poche, Duvernay, Wallace. Those last couple of weeks, they definitely got some love and were able to contribute. Miles Boykins is just at this point to me, I feel like he's just a special teams guy, and then also too, like. I feel like, again, the biggest thing is everyone stays healthy. Like this offense next year, if I'm looking at with a restructured offensive line healthy, this offense, and when you get Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins back, you probably could bring back one of those guys, Devontae Freeman or Latavius Murray. My money would be on Latavius Murray, but I mean, again, I think you can go younger. I think you can find a running back in the draft. That's just me. Both of them were serviceable. Even Le'Veon Bell, I gave him some credit. The time that he was here, they're very contributing. But I feel like, yeah. Now also too, the biggest question is, well, what about Hollywood Brown? And I need to move on and talk about Washington. But those are the things that have to be addressed in the offseason. I do expect these guys to have a better year next year. But I feel like there's some guys, I don't know. I'm scared. Like Bradley Bozeman, he's going to look to get money. Deshaun Elliott could possibly go. Eric DeCosta is a pretty good trade guru. going to be tough. It's going to be tough. But you got 10 draft picks. I think you got some things going forward for yourselves. So I'm kind of curious to see what the offseason looks like. But this year was very disappointing. But I feel like there were some positives to take away from it. But at the end of the day, I think Eric DeCosta, John Harbaugh, they know what has to be fixed. And my only last question pertaining with the offense, if you fire Greg Roman, okay, who are you replacing him with? You're going to replace him with a guy that's not really proven. I mean, T. Martin is his first year, but we'll see. We'll see. Let's transition to the Washington football team. We finished the year 7-10. Couple things that was very, very eye-opening, but there was some positives I'll take away from it. This offseason, the biggest issue they're going to have to address is depth. We pick 11th. Oh, really quick, the Baltimore Ravens pick 14th in the draft. The Washington football team is picked. We'll have the 11th overall pick. Now, we all have, 6.5 months? So the biggest thing I feel like Washington is going to have to address, obviously, is the offensive line getting healthy and look at what they're going to do at quarterback. Obviously, we all know Taylor Heineke's not the long-term answer for quarterback for Washington. We're going to get Logan Thomas back, Curtis Samuel, who's our number 2, Brandon St. Just. But biggest thing is, check this out. Well, 3 quarterbacks that I find that are not options for Washington: Teddy Bridgewater, Jameis Winston. This whole free agency class is really disappointing. I think Washington should look in the draft for a quarterback. When I look at Teddy Bridgewater, Ryan Fitzpatrick are just examples. I think Jameis Winston, they're going to lock him up in New Orleans. You don't really have that many other options out there in free agency. So I don't expect it to happen. We got Matt Corral, Sam Howell, and Malik Willis. They could try to make a run for, I wouldn't get Matt Ryan. Derek Carr, they're going to lock him up in Las Vegas. I think he wants to stay, but I think he wants to see what they're going to do around him. Biggest one is Mr. Russell Wilson. I think that that's just that team. They're going to really fix some things. Now, they're going to have to address pretty much a lot of things. Their offensive line has to stay healthy. I think Brandon Sheriff is going to be a free agent this year. He's gotten tagged twice, the franchise tag twice, and the last 2 seasons combined, he's missed 10 games. Like, I believe when I looked at I'm looking at Spot Track right now, and his cap hit is $18 million. That's 50% more than what any other right guard in the NFL had gotten. The next person behind him was Graham Gosco, which he made $12 million. Look, get your money. But no, seriously. They're going to have to figure that out. Middle linebacker. Like, Jamin Davis played okay, but Ron Rivera had Cole Holcomb and Davis as outside linebackers. I know we had John Bostic. He could be an option to come back if he wanted to, but that's not going to work. Obviously, Landon Collins is going to be a free. I think Landon Collins is a free agent too. So, I mean, Bobby McCain was at free safety. Cam Curl was at strong safety, and Landon Collins also played nickel and linebacker this season too. We'll kind of see what it looks like. I think another thing is too a kicker. Dustin Hopkins was cut, and we signed Chris Blewett and Joey Sly. Like,
relationship with your
Oh
children.
my God.
that's something they're going to have to address in the off season. They're going to have to, because we also had someone named Brian Johnson. So, kicking carousel. So, I mean, I think the biggest thing is I think Washington knows what they're going to fix and have to fix. I think the biggest thing is J.D. McKissick is a good running back. I feel like he should be re-signed. If you can't get him besides Jarrett Patterson and Antonio Gibson, because Antonio Gibson is the number one running back for sure. I feel like that's it. And also, like I said, build on the draft. Get some young guys in there. You know, hey, Brandon Sheriff, better look for an offensive lineman. But also, too, I'm kind of also we need to kind of address Curtis Samuel, because I'm not a fan of the fact that we give a guy that kind of contract and in his first year's injuries. And then also, too, De'Ami Brown did not have the greatest season. There's APBs out for him. I really feel like he could be a second or third option on this team, but I don't know. Maybe it's coaching. Maybe it's a lot. So I feel like with Ron Rivera, this is going to be year 3 of him of coaching. I think he knows what he needs. And also, too, we would need Mr. Dan Snyder to please not interfere with what we're trying to do. Also, too, I think it's best that he looks for a new stadium, because FedEx Field is just falling apart, and she's just basically being held on with tape and glue. So, I mean, look, I'm from the DMV, 2 disappointing seasons, but I mean, there's things to take away from it. Look, it's better than not being like the Lions or the Jacksonville Jaguars. Let's transition to NFL Wild Card Weekend. Yes, this Saturday and Sunday. We also got a Monday night game. No, I'm just kidding. We don't. Let's start with the most interesting game of the weekend. Mr. Derek Carr and the Las Vegas Raiders versus the Cincinnati Bengals. Let me just say this. I am very surprised that both teams actually made the play. Well, the Las Vegas Raiders, I'm surprised they made the playoffs. I not sold on them to make the playoffs from the jump. I was not sold on them from the standpoint of with everything they were going through, in terms of how they handled John Gruden's situation, Henry Ruggs, just a lot of distractions. And I have to give the Raiders credit. They never quit it. They stayed with it. So, like the last time these teams both made the playoffs, Derek Carr was quarterback. I think it was 2016, but he didn't play in that game. So this is going to be Joe, and this is Joe Burrow's first preseason game. He went 12-3. Derek Carr, I think he went 12-3 as a starter that year. And I feel like that was. I think after that year, I think everyone that's when they started to trash him, talking about, oh, he's not a good quarterback. He's not this. He's not that. But no, I feel like both teams, they haven't been there in about 5 or 6 years. That's the last time we've seen both these teams in the playoffs. Joe Mixon was in the last game because he was on the COVID reserve list. He was third. He finished third in rushing with over 1,200 yards. Josh Jacobs, I know he's been injured. And I think that's going to be kind of interesting to see that matchup. He has had Josh Jacobs has had over 3 100-yard games. And then obviously too, Joe Mixon is a weapon I would pay attention to, because I got a feeling that Cincinnati is just going to throw the ball all over that defense. I'm also looking at the fact that the Bengals were 5th against the rush, and the last time they saw each other, Josh Jacobs only had 37 yards on 9 carries. So his success is going to come early. I think that's key. Now, other than Hunter Renfrow and Mr. Darren Waller, you got Zay Jones, Foster Marnone. They don't really have a go-to player. And really quick, I want to step off the soapbox really quick. Darren Waller is one of, he talked about how he struggled with trying to stay sober. This season, missing games, because his story is really, really, really interesting. It touches me in a bit because he's opened up about how he's battling addiction of drinking. Ironically, he was a former when he was with us. That was back in 2017. That's when he was actually a wide receiver. What he's doing to help the next generation overcome alcohol and drugs, and really support and give the young kids opportunities to help them and their families get through what they need. Because again, when you have support from not just family but people that care about you and want to see your well-being, they see things in you, they see greatness, they see what you can be in life. I think that's the problem with our society today. There's not enough people like a Darren Waller who struggle and knows what it and knows and understands being through that. And not just with battling alcohol or drugs, it's with other stuff too, depression, all those kind of things. We need more support systems in our lives, because it makes a big difference, and you see it. So I wanted, because he actually is the team's representative to get the Walter Payton Man of the Year. And then again, also too, while we step off the soapbox on that, Las Vegas is cutting into this wild card on a 4-game win streak after the most surprising win, which should have resulted in a tie, but it didn't.
Relationship with your children.
My God.
Oakland has a short week, and they're coming off of it. Cincinnati, I feel like the Las Vegas Raiders I think could get the upper hand. Like, I don't know what Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow, and Joe Mixon look like. They've had more time off. So Cincinnati, biggest thing is, can they get going early? Yes. The last 2 games, Joe Burrow was arguably, he threw for 1,000 yards and 8 touchdowns. Jamar Chase is his obviously his primary target. And you got T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, and then CJ. Oh my gosh, I can't pronounce Unzima as his tight end. Now, when the Raiders did play him, they kept him to under 150 yards in passing and 1 touchdown, and he was sacked 3 times. But I must say the Oakland Raiders surprised the Cincinnati Bengals 28-21.
Guaranteed.
I think this is their year. I think the Las Vegas Raiders, they're my sleeper team, and I think if you never know what to expect. Never know what to expect. So let's transition to another AFC eye opener, the New England Patriots versus the Buffalo Bills. This is the 3rd time these 2 teams will meet each other. The last time we saw this happen was 1998. That means Drew Bledsoe was starting. Really quick, let's see who was the Buffalo Bills. It might have been Doug Flutie, low-key, that started in 98 for the Bills. I know this is coming off the team that had Jim Kelly and those boys. And I think also let me look. Yeah, Doug Flutie. Rob Johnson was still. Wow. Okay. Wow. Okay, I was right. I had to just look that up real quick. I'm like, let me see who the starting quarterback for the Buffalo Bills was in that year. So, anywho, I think this is going to be a good game. Never take Bill Belichick's teams serious. Do not take them lightly. Let's give the New England Patriots credit. Mac Jones, who I feel like he's in my rookie of the year consideration. When he's been a part of this. He's led this team. You got Damian Harris, Rhamondre Stevenson. Can't think of the other 3rd running back behind them. Hunter Henry, Jacoby Myers, N'Keal Henry, Kendrick Bourne. The Patriots got some talent, and I got to give Bill Belichick the credit, even though I'm kind of figuring why he didn't do that with Tom Brady, but that's neither here nor there. But their defense, New England, is nothing to sneeze at. The last time we saw them against Buffalo, they held Buffalo to 10 points. And they're the 4th best defense in the game right now. Now that same game, Mac Jones only threw 3 passes. So yes, The Buffalo Bills, the last 5, since they lost to the Patriots that game. I looked this stat up and I couldn't believe it. Going down the stretch, they were 4-1, and they scored 29 points. That's pretty damn good. Now, on the road, Josh Allen, I can't remember who they played in that December game, but he threw for 314 yards. There was New England, I'm sorry. It was New England. He threw 314 yards, 3 touchdowns, and then throw a pick. Now, I believe is going to do what Mac Jones is doing. Now, 1-3 to finish the year. He threw 5 interceptions when they played the Colts, Bills, and Dolphins. And that obviously, unfortunately, pick 6 against the Dolphins. I felt like that was just a slap in the face. But I still have my faith in Mac Jones. I think he's the best rookie quarterback in his draft. I do. I like Trevor Lawrence, but I think Trevor Lawrence. I just want to see what Mr. Shaq Khan and that front office is going to do to build around him. Can't ignore the fact that Mac Jones has thrown over 3,800 yards, 22 touchdowns. Can't ignore that. I believe he's gonna bounce back in this game for sure. Now, the Buffalo Bills defense, and I've had them on my fantasy football team. Like, they have allowed just 15 points in this season alone. The last 7 games. Like, that's not that bad. New England also too has this tendency of struggling against the Bills on third down. I believe the number was like 3. They're like 3 for 22. That might struggle. So I don't know what they're gonna look like offensively. But I feel like if they get the running game or going early, mix it up with Harris and Stevenson, and mix it up there, you get Bourne, Henry, Myers, Hunter Henry, you get them all involved. I think that's how you start off with New England. And then this is a must-win game to me for Josh Allen. This year, I feel like Josh Allen took a step back. I feel like last year he showed he was MVP candidate. And to me, that's why I'm really big on trust your eyes. I'm not saying he's a bust. I just feel like we have to be careful when we're hyping certain guys up, because this was a team that had already had the AFC East in its bag I'll say even like 4 or 5 weeks ago. Ow, what the hell was that? They have the offense. They do. But Stephon Diggs, his receiving, he had, from what he had last year, I did the math, it was about 300 yards less, which to me is not the end of the world. I just feel like Josh Allen is a good quarterback, but I feel like he's going to have to prove, because he's the first one in that quarterback class to get paid. He's got to show up. He's got to be the reason that the Buffalo Bills win this game. He has to be. Don't get me wrong. I had Stephon Diggs on my fantasy roster. That is nothing to sneeze at. I think that's probably one of the best combos, other than Devontae Adams and Aaron Rodgers. That's another combo I can't sneeze on. Against the Patriots, they had Stephon Diggs had 145 yards and 3 touchdowns. Another thing too is how can you handle I think Dante Hightower has a knee injury, and Lawrence Guy has a shoulder injury. Like those are kind of a couple of things that. And Harrison Phillips also too. He has a knee injury as well. There's a couple injuries on both sides that I'm trying to figure out how they're going to work. So New England's got some work to do to handle Buffalo's passing because you're going to keep your eyes on Cole Beasley, Emmanuel Sanders, Gabriel Davis, Singletary, Moss, Dawson Knox. Like that's a lot for New England to really contain. Now, couple things also in this game. I looked at the temperature because they're playing in Buffalo. The temperature for Saturday with the Buffalo Bills versus New England Patriots is going to be 11 degrees.
Oh my God.
That is cold. I can't wait to see what the NFC Championship game with Green Bay. Like I saw this week's forecast. This was like a -7 in the evening. I was like, good Lord. But I mean, this is all if by all accounts, I mean, me personally, we should be running the ball. I mean, I think each quarterback should have no more than 30 passes, honestly, truthfully. I do feel like I think really it could go either or. Josh Allen's kind of been the lead rusher. Then you have Singletary. They kind of taken away from Zach Moss and Breida. Gosh. Also too, Jalen Mills for the Patriots was added to the COVID reserve list, so he may not play. I mean, honestly, truthfully, I think both teams have kind of had their highs and their lows. I think the biggest key is forced turnovers. Whose defense is going to show up? Which Josh Allen are we going to get? And also, too, when I looked at this year alone, they both as combined, and I couldn't believe this statistic. They had over 30 takeovers combined as both teams. I know Bill Belichick's going to have something cooked up. He's going to have something cooked up and ready to go. But I think the Buffalo Bills have gotten hot at the right time. The Buffalo Bills will beat the New England Patriots 17-14.
Guaranteed.
Another game we have to talk about is the Pittsburgh Steelers versus the Kansas City Chiefs.
I'm not going to even sit here and act like I didn't know this was coming. Or act like I know this was coming because I did it.
The Pittsburgh Steelers somehow made the playoffs.
Oh my God.
And they have to go to Arrowhead Stadium and play the Kansas City Chiefs, where they got demolished by 4 possessions. I'm hoping that it's going to be a better game than 36-10. I really do. A couple things. Now, Edwards, Clyde, Hilaire, he's not supposedly he's going to be out. With Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill back. Kelce was on the reserve list, and I know Tyreek Hill was dealing with a heel injury. Now, those guys, they're back. Pittsburgh had no answers for Byron Pringle and Miko Hardman. So, like, I mean, they still got Darrell Williams and Derek Gore, Kansas City, but I think the biggest thing is Kansas City. Like, I feel like when teams that have played Kansas City, they don't. I don't think they respect the run. I think they're more of a pass. Because I've seen a lot of the defenses where they're dropping two safeties deep, and with Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Mahomes. I looked this stat up. I couldn't believe this. So in my notes here, with Edwards-Hilaire's in the game, Mahomes completes 68% of his passes. Without him, he completes 64. That's an interesting stat. Now, for Pittsburgh to have any chance of winning this game, is going to have to be the defense. Now, in 17 games, T.J. Watt did not break the record, most records of a single season in the game. He tied with Michael Strahan with 22 and a half, but did not break it. Thank you, David Sharp and Patrick McCarry, as you prevented that from happening. Thank you. The defense is going to have to really step up. Cam Haywood, T.J. Watt, they're all going to have big games. They're going to have to. I mean, could T.J. Watt have 3 sacks in this game? I don't know. I mean, against that line Kansas City has built up, that's going to be tough. And then also too, let's look at Pittsburgh offensively. James Washington's on the COVID list. He landed on the list, was it Tuesday? So we'll see what happens. They haven't really talked. I think he should be able to play because he's a good target for Big Ben. He's probably his best vertical wide receiver. Kansas City, there's a couple defenses that they play. They play press coverage and cover zero man. And Big Ben, when they played them, he did not push the ball. They gave him opportunities to throw the ball deep, and he did not take those opportunities. He completed 35 passes, and 7 of those passes went for over 10 yards. And that can't happen. Now, I guarantee this was going to end up happening. They're going to stack the box up and make it hard for him to really get the ball out. Now, he's going to have to take some chances downfield. They do it. I don't know why they do it. They did it against us, and I don't know why they didn't do it against Pittsburgh. Now, I really do hope that it's a better game, but I'm not expecting much. I mean, it has to start with their defense, and Najee Harris will have to get over like 100 yards in rushing. Claypool and Deontay Johnson are going to have to step up big. I'm going to say the Kansas City Chiefs 28-20.
Guaranteed.
Let's go to the NFC. We got the surprising matchup. Jalen Hurts versus Tom Brady. The Philadelphia Eagles versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This should be an interesting game. This should be. Jalen Hurts did not play the last game of the season because he dealt with an injury. Now, the last other than them being on the road, Philadelphia, they won only 3 of their 8 games away from home. No, they won 3 games at home, but they were a better road team. They were 6-3, which that's weird beyond me. Tampa Bay went 7-1 down the stretch, 13-4. And they actually have a little bit more to play for. You don't have Chris Godwin. You don't have Fournette, Ronald Jones, and Antonio Brown. So there's some things that's going to work against Tom Brady in the offense. Again, I think you got Mike Evans and Rob Gronkowski. Those are I think Tom Brady's going to expect them to really have big games. I do. I can't also ignore what's his name, Cyril Grayson. I think he's going to have a big game. But I think he got injured. Did he get injured against Carolina? I think he did. So I don't think he probably won't play, more than likely. They got John Brown, a wide receiver for the Bills and former Raven. He brings some versatility to that offense a little bit. So that should be interesting. Philadelphia, I think Jalen Hurts, who obviously with as a quarterback, he led rushing the ball 139 times for over almost 800 yards and 10 touchdowns. I don't understand that when you've got Miles Sanders, Boston Scott. I don't understand that. Now, Tampa Bay, defensively, they're third against the run. They have only surrendered 92.5 yards. And they're fifth when opponents score. I think it's almost like 21 points a game. Now, Richard Sherman was placed on the IR because of an Achilles. He's been on the IR twice. I think he had a hamstring injury. So, wow. I'd be interested to see if he comes back next year. I'm pretty sure they'll sign him. And then also Shaq Barrett. He's coming back in an ACL and MCL sprain. So that's good to have him back. But, I feel like the biggest thing is Philadelphia, can they do enough offensively and defensively? I think Philadelphia is going to get going early. I think that's the key. Running and passing the ball. This is a young team. I have to give the Eagles credit, but I'm going to lean towards Mr. TB12 and the Buccaneers. Because I just think that they have a little bit more veteran presence, and I feel like Tom Brady, he's Tom Brady. Tom Brady's going to do Tom Brady things. But I think Jalen Hurts and the Philadelphia Eagles keep it close. I'm going to say the Tampa Bay Buccaneers beat the Philadelphia Eagles 24-19.
Guaranteed.
Let us transition to the next game. We've got the San Francisco 49ers versus that team in Dallas. This was another interesting matchup I was not expecting. But I think this could be an upset, ladies and gentlemen. So, look, let's not take away from San Francisco's offense. I'm kind of curious to see how defensively Dallas is going to contain that Deebo Samuel, George Kittle, Brandon Ayuk, I'm kind of curious to see how they're going to contain those guys. And the biggest thing for me is Kyle Shanahan. He's going to set the tone by running the ball. I think if he starts it off like that early, I think it's going to be a good game for the 49ers. Now, Jimmy G, we all know that Trey Lance is the future, blah, 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 blah. But what if? Let's just say Jimmy G has a run. Because I believe Jimmy Garoppolo is going to have to take what Dallas's defense gives him. Now, don't force any bad passes. You're going to have to make the small plays to turn into the big gains. I think that's the key. That's one thing I kind of want to see how he does against this team. I want to see how he responds in this moment since being a part of that team that got to the Super Bowl a couple years ago. I want to see that. Now, control the clock. If you're San Francisco, keep the chains moving is another key. Keep Dallas's offense off the field as much as possible. You've got, I think it's Elijah Mitchell and Sam. Run the ball. Keep Dallas off. Keep Dak and our offense off the field. Now, Dallas's offense. Let's keep it real. Now, Dak Prescott, and my personal opinion, he and Joe Burrow are my comeback players of the year.
Guaranteed.
In his year, coming back off that gruesome ankle injury, and also from last year, and had a shoulder injury as well. He almost threw for 5,000 yards, 4,449 yards to be exact, and 37 touchdowns, which was tied for fourth. I'm kind of looking for him to have a big game. Now, supposedly, according to multiple sources, Amari Cooper was fined $15,000 because he violated COVID-19 protocols at the Mavs game. So, I mean, he'll still play, but I just wanted to point that out. He got in trouble. But CeeDee Lamb, Amari Cooper, Dalton Schultz. They don't have Michael Gallup there, which is going to be interesting. I kind of want to see how that's going to look. Ezekiel Elliott. That offense, is this just the offense? What are we going to see? They're going to have to really go all out. So, I mean, Tony Pollard and Ezekiel Elliott, they're going to at least touch the ball 30 times combined, at least 30. When they played the Cardinals, they were held to 45 yards running the ball. So obviously, Dallas's offense is going to be the interesting part. Now, their defense, San Francisco's defense, is nothing to sneeze at. I actually had them also too in fantasy football, which I've learned don't draft 3 defenses. that was my mistake. They have their work cut out for them. Now, Dallas, if they can contain certain big plays, I think they'll be okay. Now, the only issue that I have with San Francisco, they do allow big play. They do allow amount. I remember they played the Cincinnati Bengals, and the first time they faced Cincy, they let Joe Burrow throw the ball for almost 350 yards against them. But they did win in overtime that game. Again, I just feel like the 49ers when they played the Rams is I looked at their fans. I think that's what kind of got the Rams shook in that game was the amount of 49er fans that were at that game. Like, I already know what to expect in Arlington. I already know it's going to be packed with Cowboy fans, but there's going to be some 49er fans there in Dallas. I think they're going to find ways to disrupt that team. Again, George Kittle, Debo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, Elijah Mitchell, excuse me. Jimmy Garoppolo is going to lead. He's the key to the 49ers winning this game. It's all what Jimmy G you get. Which Dallas offense are we going to see? But with that being said, the San Francisco 49ers are going to upset the Dallas Cowboys 30-27.
Guaranteed.
And let's transition into the last game of the evening. We've got the Los Angeles Rams versus the Arizona Cardinals. Now, this is another key game because you got one Mr. Matthew Stafford, who I feel like has to win this year. Definitely Matthew Stafford definitely showed peaks and valleys. Definitely showed that. Yes, 41 touchdowns, 4,800 yards, or 4,800 yards in passing. Yes, but I questioned some of the decision-making behind in the pocket. He's thrown 17 picks. He's thrown in the last 4 games before coming into this playoff matchup. He's thrown at least one interception in those four games. Even though they've been bailed out with their offense and defense too. But he's going to have to fit. It's going to have to be him. He's going to have to. Matthew Stafford takes this team as far as he can take it. Cooper Kupp's going to have a game. Odell Beckham's going to have a game. Higbee, Van Jefferson, Cam Akers is coming back. They're going to have games. It's what Matthew Stafford does. Now, the Los Angeles Rams on paper have the better defense. Now, I'm not really feeling they got some personalities on that defense, particularly one, Mr. Jalen Ramsey. But they know what they're doing. The last time they met each other, they had Kyler Murray running up and down that field. It's the defense for me. Even though when they met, was it week 14? Was the battle in the trenches? It was Los Angeles. That's the key. Offensively, I think the offensive line is probably one of the best. But when playing against San Francisco, they were mildly disappointing. Matthew Stafford got sacked 5 times, and I mean they pressured him 28 times, and that was just bad. And also, again, let me go back to the secondary. They called up Mr. Eric Waddle because Jordan Fuller is out, so they're bringing and Taylor Rupp. So they brought in Mr. Eric Waddle. Interesting, huh? Because Taylor Rupp is in concussion protocol and Fuller had an ankle injury. So Darius Williams is also dealing with a shoulder injury. So they've got that secondary. If you are Arizona, take advantage of that. I mean, it's going to be tough without D-Hop. I understand, but you've got Chase Edmonds, James Conner, Christian Kirk, AJ Green. I think it's Rondé Moore. They got to take advantage of it. So I mean, if Jalen Ramsey, I know he's gonna be all over. They're gonna use him in all different kind of ways to create chaos. But this is who they have in terms of replacement: Nick Scott, Terrell Burgess, and David Long Jr. That's what the Rams have to replace what they've lost on defense. So, with that being said, I think the Los Angeles Rams will beat the Arizona Cardinals 31-28.
Guaranteed.
And as we transition, and that is the wild card weekend, ladies and gentlemen, as we transition into some news around the NFL, Jameson Williams is declaring for the NFL draft. He tore his Achilles. I still project him to be a first-round pick, but we'll see. John Michie probably will declare for the draft as well. I kind of feel that way. Now, I also want to give my thoughts and prayers. His name is Junior Seavey. He was defensive tackle. He played for the Chiefs and the Dallas Cowboys and the Seattle Seahawks. I want to send my thoughts and prayers to his family. He unfortunately was found dead in a penitentiary in Leavenworth, Kansas. So he was arrested back in 2019 for some illegal firearms, and he also some other charges. So I just want to send my thoughts and prayers to his family. Now, as far as NFL awards go, let me give some flowers to a couple people that were deserving of making the All-Pro team. First, I got to start off with, obviously, Mr. Aaron Rodgers. Congratulations. No, I'm just kidding. Congratulations, A-Rod. Aaron Rodgers, Jonathan Taylor, Mark Andrews had 41 of 50 votes. Trust your eyes. Devontae Adams, Cooper Kupp, Deebo Samuel, Trent Williams, Tristan Wirfs, Joel Bettino, Zach Martin, and Mr. Jason Kelsey. First team defense, TJ Watt, Myles Garrett, Aaron Donald, Cameron Hayward, Darius Leonard, Micah Parsons, Devondre Campbell, Trayvon Diggs, Jalen Ramsey, Kevin Bernard, and Jordan Poyer. Special teams, Justin Tucker, AJ Cole, Braxton Berrios, Devin Duvernay, JT Gray, and Luke Roy. For the second team, Tom Brady, there was no running back voted for second team All-Pro. Travis Kelce, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, Rashard Slater, Lane Johnson, Quentin Nelson, Wyatt Teller, Corey Lindsey. On defense, Robert Quinn, Max Crosby, Chris Jones, Jeffrey Simmons, Demario Davis, Raquan Smith, Bobby Wagner, J.C. Jackson, Maryland Terp, AJ Terrell, and also too, you'll be surprised when you hear this, and I was shocked. Justin Simmons, Micah Hyde, and Buda Baker for second team safety defense had the same number of votes.
I'm not going to even sit here and act like I didn't know this was coming. Or act like I know this was coming because I did it.
I like it. I mean, all three. Me personally, if I was starting a team, I would draft all three in a heartbeat. So, congratulations to those guys. Mark Andrews had the other 9 votes with the Travis Kelce. Mark Andrews is the best tight end in the NFL. It's time we gave that man his flowers. Travis Kelce is getting older. George Kittle also too has been dealing with injuries. Look for Mark. Again, that's what I'm saying. Your eyes don't lie. I mean, they may deceive you, but I watched the games, and Mark Andrews, I'll make an argument and say he carried for a good portion of the team season. He carried this Raven offense. So thank you, Mark Andrews. Justin Tucker is Justin Tucker. Devin Duvernay, I think, has found his niche. But yeah, man, I like it. Now, Mr. David Culley was fired after just 1 year with the Houston Texans. Now, something told me, right, after Brian Flores got fired, and I'm like, I'm not Nostradamus, but something was like, okay, Deshaun Watson, obviously, and I'm still not comfortable with, the things that you all heard. You didn't hear none of that when they were in Houston and they were winning games and all those things like that. But when he wants out, that just bothers me. I'm sorry. He wanted to go to Miami and play with Brian Flores. So I'm like, okay. So they fired David Culley. So I'm like, huh. And then I saw Adam Schefter. He tweeted out that the Texans interviewed Brian Flores. And I'm like, well, maybe this was a sign. Maybe, again, like these owners kind of like they kind of intertwine, they kind of behind closed doors. And maybe it's a conspiracy theory. What if they could you fire, Brian Flores so we can hire him? I don't know. That was just me thinking conspiracy wise. They interviewed him. Not surprising. I think it's just trying to get Deshaun Watson to stay. But I feel like, honestly, truthfully, that's been a complete mess. And how that's been handled. Now, let me give some love to Mr. Ndamukong Suh, because he talked about what keeps him in great shape, and that is immediate fasting. Now, currently, I'm trying to do that with a Daniel fast, and for the beginning of the new year. It's actually been interesting, and I've done it before. You do feel a difference when you're not eating like Doritos, you're not eating out like Chick-fil-A or pizza or Mountain Dew, Sprite, Coke, water, vegetables, fruits. It makes a big difference. So I got to give him credit for that, because he hasn't missed. I mean, he hasn't missed a game other than he hasn't missed a game due to injury. So I do want to point this out, that since David Culley has been fired, there's only one black head coach, and I do expect that to change. But I just wanted to point that out. There's just now one black head coach, and that's Mike Tomlin, because Mike Tomlin's never had a losing season in the 15 years he's been there as a head coach. So as far as like the rookies, the awards, I will do that in a later episode. I had the pleasure of doing it with the pleasure of being on Let's Talk Football, the round table with Sean Spencer, Nick Rosario, and Delilah Crespo. So then we talked about that. The Chargers did fire their special teams coordinator. That wasn't anything else. Now, Carson Wentz. I want to talk about Carson Wentz real quick, because me personally, GM and Chris Ballard and Frank Wright come out and make the comments, particularly he said, we don't know who's going to, because unfortunately the Indianapolis Colts did not make the playoffs, and I get it. However, I can't put that all on Carson. When it counted the most, I needed Jonathan Taylor. Jonathan Taylor, who we were all sitting here renowned as this, he was an MVP candidate. He didn't have a good game. Other than Michael Pittman, other than those two, who did the Indianapolis Colts have to rely on? Jack Doyle. Hold on 1 second. Okay, I apologize, ladies and gentlemen. But back to what I was saying. Offensively, other than Michael Pittman and Jonathan Taylor, who do you have also to rely on offensively if you're the Colts? I just don't. I can't squarely put that on Carson Wentz's shoulders. Me personally, this is just my personal opinion. I think ever since they won when he was in Philadelphia, that injury, I feel like that, and it wasn't Carson Wentz that started in the Super Bowl, it was Nick Foles. I feel like, honestly and truthfully, his confidence has just been completely shook. I think also, too, and I get it, this is a results-oriented league, and Carson Wentz has shown that he's, what have you done for me lately? But I'm not going to ignore the fact that he threw for over 3,500 yards and 7 touchdowns. He's going to get all the blame. He's going to get all the praise, all the glory. We can talk about where he came from, North Dakota State, but that doesn't change the fact when he was in Philadelphia. And again, maybe y'all see something different. But when he was in Philadelphia, after he won the Super Bowl, when you have over 20 different offensive line changes, running back core that's depleted with injuries, and you're down to practice squad wide receivers, that's really? And then Philadelphia, then you trade to Indianapolis, okay, that's great. I feel like he was the best option. Even though, let's call it what it is, nobody really wants to talk about it. They failed when Andrew Luck, it was good to see him on TV. They failed to give Andrew Luck offensive line. We get it. Indianapolis, they invested a 3rd-round pick. Next year, the last year, a 3rd-round pick. This year, 2nd-round pick, which was now a 1st-round pick. And they invested a lot. They invested in him. And I understand that. But I can't blame him for their meltdown. I can't. I think because, they didn't make the playoffs, point the finger at Carson Wentz. And there's a certain individual in the media I blame because they have been coming at him ever since Philadelphia. and I blame a certain individual in the media. And I'm not going. And it's just something about every time the Eagles had a bad game, it was always Carson Wentz. He didn't have no great game. Carson Wentz is supposed to be this blah blah blah. And I'm like, I'm looking around. And I'm like, what does he have to work with? How come we're not talking about Jonathan Taylor didn't have a good game? Michael Pittman down the stretch, who had over 1,000 yards receiving, he fell off. Who other than those two guys offensively does Carson Wentz have to throw the ball to? T.Y. Hilton? What's his name? What's his name? Let me look at the roster real quick. This is his wide receivers: Paris Campbell, Ashton Doolin, Zach Pascal, Desmond Patmon. That's his wide receivers. If Michael Pittman probably had, if Carson Wentz had another wide receiver and maybe a reliable tight end, I'm not saying Jack Doyle's not reliable, but I'm saying look, I believe it's fixable because Frank Wright was in Philadelphia. He was with Frank Wright in Philadelphia before he got the head coaching job. I believe it's fixable, but I'm not going to solely put the loss on Carson Wentz. I think it's unfair, and I think it says a lot about, well, again, we pick and choose who to throw the blame. And we can all point the finger at Carson Wentz. That's great. But everyone takes a loss in this. The defense, Frank Wright, everybody. It's not just Carson Wentz. That's just me. I'm sorry. Now, Juju Smith-Schuster is also coming back supposed to be returning off the IR. So, because he's actually scheduled to be a free agent. So we'll see about that. Yeah, man, that's pretty much what's been going around the NFL. Also, too, nobody claimed Antonio Brown because he was placed on waivers, so nobody claimed him. So let's transition into Major League Baseball. This was day 46. There was some positives. There was a proposal that was set by the league, and we'll see. Because we're getting close to spring training, so pretty much this was the first proposal since December the 2nd. Supposedly it did nothing. But apparently the topics that the players want to discuss were not addressed. Now, the proposal was pretty much a slap in the face for the players. Because the thing they're pretty much wanting was the competitive balance tax and raising the minimum salary. Pretty much they want to change free agency. You should be able to enter free agency after a certain period of time. Also, too, I think the players just want a little bit more money. And I get that. But I'm a little concerned that we're not, that the players, I think it's just more money. I mean, that's what it just comes down to as well. Pretty much said, okay, this is the proposal. Okay. The league proposed a draft pick of awarding a draft pick if a team places in the top 100 prospect on its opening day roster and the player wins Rookie of the Year or finishes in the top 3 of MVP or Cy Young voting. Either one. Now, it also talked about and also international pick. Now, if, for example, right, me, let's say I won Rookie of the Year and MVP for the Orioles. We're only getting one pick. We're not getting multiple. Okay. Pretty much they want they don't want the players don't want good players on bad teams. But again, I keep using the Houston Astros as an example. And there's some other teams in baseball too. The Pittsburgh Pirates are doing it as well. The Arizona Diamondbacks are doing it as well. I don't know why they singled out the Baltimore Orioles, but that's cool. I that's neither here nor there. They don't want tanking. They want good players on good teams, and I think that's a hit or miss. When you are the best player, unfortunately, yeah, you are drafted to a crappy team, but you hope that team is building something going forward. Look at the Orioles; they have the best farm system in Major League Baseball, and those guys give another year or two, are we ready to compete? Now, the players, the biggest issue is again this economic, it's money. They want free agency arbitration earlier. They want, according to here, the threshold of $245 million and want revenue sharing more. Again, the league the league wants to have 14 teams in the playoffs compared to 12, and then also too they offered a universal DH. To me, I think that's lucrative. To me, I think that's a good deal. But I mean, after 43 days. I mean, I'm not supposed to count weekends, but that's what they offered. From what I understood, the players were just not positive to it. Spring training is around the start, and the players they're not budging, and unfortunately that's the sad part of the business. They're not budging, and the league won't budge. Me personally, I just think it comes down to just at the end of the day, just more money. I really want a salary cap for Major League Baseball because I just am not. Again, I'm just not a fan of these large contracts anymore. Getting these 15, 7, 10-year deals, and look what it does to my team. I don't like it. Also, too, the Baltimore Orioles, strangely, are wanting to add dimensions to left field. They want to change it up. Makes no sense to me. It looks weird. How they want to they want to make the left field wall higher. I don't know if that's an analytic thing. I don't know what they're expecting to happen. Unfortunately, the last few years, Camden Yards has been the poster child of where careers are made because everyone just seems to just hit the ball off us. We had the most home runs hit against us. We'll see. Me personally, I don't like it. I don't think you can get. I wish they could get right field fixed, but they're not going to take that scoreboard down. They're definitely not going to fix that corner. But they said they're supposed to lose they're supposed to lose some seats, but we'll see how it looks. John Lester retired, so congratulations. I think he could be considered a Hall of Famer in my book. He's a champion. Good pitcher in his day, obviously faced some of the Boston Red Sox, Chicago Cubs. So I wish him nothing but the best. Melky Cabrera is retiring. I wish him other than future endeavors as he enjoys retirement. Actually, a good little baseball player. We actually had some interest in signing him a couple of times, but and never came to fruition. But yeah, man, that's what's pretty much happening around Major League Baseball. So, there is this. I did want to say there is a star from Japan. Let me make sure I have his name right. I don't want to say it wrong. Outfielder Sia Suzuki. He's been pursued by 10 to 12 teams, and they could offer him a contract once we get this lockout under control, because we're starting to really, really get towards, spring training. So let me transition because I want to get into a couple of the topics. Hold on, I'll be right back. Let me get a water. Hold on. All right, I'm back. Let's get into the NBA. Wizards, we beat the Orlando Magic 112-106. Kyle Kuzma has been on a tear lately. He's been playing really well as of late. I got to give him his flowers. Again, the biggest thing was getting off early. Going, to me, starting to put the pieces together a little bit. Biggest thing is making shots, playing defense, and not getting behind so early. Dinwiddie had 17 points. Corey Casper actually started at shooting guard because he's Bradley Bill's in COVID protocols. We held Orlando in the first half to 35% shooting. I was expecting Terrence Ross to go off on us, and it didn't happen. These are the little things that I want Washington to fix. I'm still not sold on this squad because I think, honestly and truthfully, I think it gets a C plus because I would have expected guys to have known their roles, and I haven't seen that. Also, too, Wes Unseld he entered COVID protocols. So, yeah. So, I feel like with this team, there's a couple things they're going to have to address. Thomas Bryant came back. It's the first time he's come back off his ACL injury last year. He had 6 points. He did make a 3, but I just feel like the Wizards. I think they there's so much potential, and I just feel like we were just sold on this. We're just given false hope on this team. We're the 8th seed, and like you got the Cleveland Cavaliers 25-18. You got the Hornets 23-13, 23-20. Like, I'm looking at this Eastern Conference. Other than the Bulls, Brooklyn, Milwaukee, Philadelphia, the first 5 seeds, they're currently where they are. They're locks. 6 through 8 is honestly, truthfully, still anybody. I mean, other than probably Atlanta, they're 17-24. They just actually traded Cam Reddish for Kevin Knox, which I think Kevin Knox didn't exceed certain expectations, and that's okay. I mean, I think in Atlanta, I think they'll get him in Atlanta. They'll get a fresh start. So I wish Kevin Knox all the best in Atlanta and Cam Reddish. So he and RJ Barrett, Zion Williamson next. We'll see. The Boston Celtics, they're 21-22. This notion that Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum can't play together, I disagree with that. I think they need a dynamic, they need a playmaking point guard. I think if they can find somebody like that, Boston's okay. Because Dennis Schroeder is just not the answer. I'm sorry, Dennis Schroeder's a great player, but he's not the answer. But with this Wizard team, I mean, it's just so up and down. And I think they can play. Excuse me. They can play to their potential, but I just don't see it. I just feel like they're going to have to fix some things. You got 4 weeks. 4 weeks until the trade deadline starts, which is on the 10th of February. And again, they need a point guard. Okay. They're going to need to really address the wing depth, because I don't believe you need Gafford, Bryant, and Bertans. One of them is going to have to go. Okay. And again, when you have these next 11 games, we got to face 6 teams. We got to face Philadelphia twice, Brooklyn, Toronto, Boston, Milwaukee, and Miami. I mean, I still think the Washington Wizards can make the playoffs.
Guaranteed.
But we are not a good 3-point shooting team. We're 30th and 26% in shooting the ball. And defensively, we kind of have taken a dip because we have a difficult time defending in the paint and also to rim protection. I believe things will get better over time, but I'm looking at right now. It's what the Wizards need to fix it. And I think I look at the defense has to be fixed. They're 23rd in defensive efficiency. And they have, again, KCP, Denny Ajavadia, and Daniel Gafford. They've got guys that can play defense, but they're going to have to figure it out. I think they're going to have to really get some guys. They're going to get, again, like I said, a point guard does not hurt. It doesn't. And again, I mean, they had Shabazz Napier. I mean, he definitely showed progress defensively, but again, we have some flexibility after we got rid of the Russell Westbrook contract. So I'm going to see what Tommy Shepard can do, but the Wizards they definitely need to fix some things, and that's just me. We play the Portland Trail Blazers. They don't have Damian Lillard and Larry Nance, CJ McCollum, Anthony Simmons, and Cody Zeller. So this actually should be an easy win for the Wizards, honestly. A couple things. I know, but now Rui Hachimura and Thomas Bryant back. I know that's going to take some minutes away from Denny. But I feel like ever since, like, for example, when we played Oklahoma, there's no other really true option defensively, as far as finding solutions on defense, and they scored 118 points on us. So I'm going to see what they're going to do with that on defense now that you got Hashimura and Thomas Bryant back. They're going to slowly bring back. They're going to bring Thomas Bryant back in rotation, but they're clearly taking minutes off Denny. Again, this should be a win for the Wizards when you don't have Damian Lillard or CJ McCollum. But again, the Wizards are going to have to really figure some things out. They can't get. They can't get behind. They're going to have to make some shots, play defense. Yeah. Last time we saw the Trailblazers, they scored 132 points on us. It was 132-121. Again, look for Kyle Kuzma to have a big night. KCP. I'm looking for these guys to have I'm looking for the Wizards to have a big game. It's going to come down to defense first, because defense wins championships, in my opinion. So the tone we set defensively is going to be a good night for the Wizards. But I believe the Washington Wizards will beat the Portland Trailblazers. I'm going to say 111-98.
Guaranteed.
And as far as other NBA teams, I'm trying to do my best to keep up with it. But I've just been really watching the Wizard games, honestly. So, yeah, I got a couple people ask, well, do you watch any other NBA teams? And I was just like, yeah, I try to watch what's on, like when Inside the NBA comes on. I try to watch the games there, but my primary focus is the Wizard games. Some things around the NBA news. NBA news. The NBA will fall back on daily testing of players and coaches this weekend because with the rising cases of this new variant of COVID, the league has decided that they're going to take a step back in daily testing. So pretty much what they're saying is by February, this was getting to according to Shams on Twitter, he's saying that players that are unvaccinated or eligible for the booster, they will remain under daily testing until the 17th. So, because a number of players and staff have dropped, and 100% of the staff across the league are boosted and are vaccinated. So, yeah. But interesting stat, more than 300 players have entered the health and safety protocols, and then more than 500 of the league's employees, which is those that work with the players and staff, they've had confirmed cases. We had 11 games in December that were postponed because they didn't have enough players for the game. And the Toronto Raptors, unfortunately, they changed everything. So they're playing in empty arenas. So because again, this new variant has just been crazy. The Sacramento Kings got a memo. They're not supposed to play. They were told to not play Cold as Ice, which I believe they're playing one of my favorite bands, Foreigner. They play Cold as Ice. I'm sorry. I shouldn't laugh. Okay, look. Russ had a bad game against the Sacramento Kings, and actually the Lakers should be ashamed of themselves. They lost to a team that's 17-27. Final score 125-116. Russ did not have the greatest game. 8 of 40. The last three games. Wednesday night, Russell Westbrook shot 2 of 14 from the field, 0 of 5 from 3. He had that bad of a game. That's when they started playing the game. Every time he missed a shot, Then they were, you're as cold as ice. I was like, that's terrible. And I'm like, that's not right. So pretty much, they will not be allowed to play that. I'm not sure where that came from. Apparently, that I was reading that on someone's Twitter. I think his name is Sean Cunningham. So I think the league came at them for playing it. They're just not, because I don't know. I feel like that's a little sensitive to me. Sometimes, look, and Russ responded back. Russ is going to respond. The way he's going to respond. He said along the lines of, he said like, that's funny. A team that hasn't made the playoffs in over 14 years too. It's funny that they play it now. That's cute. That's what he said. This is his exact words. Look, I love Russ. Look, I figured. Look, I think the biggest thing is the Lakers have a bigger issue. I don't think he fits. I don't think he's been struggling practically the whole season, and Frank Vogel is going to have to consider how to use him more. I think he's better off coming off the bench. And again, I don't think it's Frank Vogel, but I guarantee you they're going to find ways to make the point move. They've already have moved the goalposts and said it was Frank Vogel. They said it was Russell Westbrook. Let's just keep what it is. LeBron handpicked teams because you can tell LeBron's fingers are all over the way this team's constructed. They just don't work. It's been documented in Cleveland. These teams built by LeBron, they don't work. It just doesn't. I mean, we could easily, I look at Anthony Davis. Nobody's talking about, man, he just keeps getting hurt. He's one of the 5 best players in the NBA, and I don't think you need to depend on LeBron. He's supposed to be the guy to take over when it's needed. But what do I know? I'm just a 26-year-old who's passionate about the game of basketball. But I think it's totally unfair to squarely put this on Frank Vogel's shoulders. I'm looking at Rob Pelinka, Jeannie Buss. I'm looking at LeBron too. Like, this is what you picked. These are the guys that you wanted. So I figured they'll get him out of it. But let me get off that. Now, Jose Calderon he got hired in the front row office by the Cleveland Cavaliers. Congratulations. I already talked about Cam Reddish getting traded to the New York Knicks along with Solomon Hill for Kevin Knox and a pick. I think this is going to be good for both teams, honestly and truthfully. I think New York won that trade because they were really struggling to really get him in the lineup. Even Nate McMillan had said that it was really tough getting him in there because they needed some help. Atlanta and we'll see. I think it's a breath of fresh air for Kevin Knox. Kevin Durant was fined $15,000 for excessive language. We have the MLK games coming up, so I will probably do that in a later, probably in Tuesday's episode. But yeah, man, that's what's been happening around the NBA. Let's transition to college basketball as we're going over into 2 hours and 5 minutes of a podcast. Just talking Maryland basketball. We barely, and I mean barely, by the skin of our teeth. It took 2 overtimes to beat Northwestern.
What the hell was that? I'm pissed off. Get it together. Y'all look like trash.
Final score 94-87. We had lead in the fourth quarter, but and I don't know. I really don't know. Let's talk about this. For first and foremost, for us even getting there, to get the last 15 seconds, that was awful basketball defensively for Maryland as a Turpin fan to watch. The Wildcats went on a 6-0 run. Dante Scott picked up a flagrant foul, and then you had someone named Robbie Burning who hit 2 free throws. The game was tied. Dante Scott fouled out the game, which is beyond crazy. Tied the game at 72, but he missed the second free throw. I want to squarely focus. I'm going to talk about the game, but I want to get some context how we got there. That's how we got in the overtime. The fact that it took us 2 overtimes to beat this team, it says a lot about the Maryland Terrapins. It does. I'm sorry. I'm looking at the fact drawing fouls and failing to hold on to a lead. I'm looking at the first quarter. The first half of basketball. Both teams were horrible from the field. They both shot under 30% from the field. Like, even going into the second half, brothers still could not make shots. Like, Julian Reese and Hakeem Hart got the offense going. Still has struggled to take the lead. Eric Ayala, he had started to find his shot. Northwestern, they only had a 1-point lead going into the half. Those last 4 or 5 possessions, we shot 41% from the field compared to 38% by the Wildcats, and then those coming out of halftime. We were both trading buckets, but again, Maryland really struggled to find momentum in this game. It just did to me. Fats Russell had things going for us when he had the long 3-pointer, and then Hakeem Hart brought us up by 4. But again, Northwestern was not going anywhere. I was a little concerned about the fouling. Defensively, I don't know why some of the fouls, the decision making on fouling didn't make any sense to me. But that was to get where we were. That going into the last 2 minutes of that overtime game, 79-75, the Wildcats had the lead. Now, I can't remember who fouled Eric Ayala and brought the 79-77. Now, we won the game because they could not get a shot off. And we gave Fats Russell, obviously, an opportunity to basket, and he heaved it from half court and he made it, which got us in the second overtime. We didn't trailed in the second overtime, maybe won the game. But a couple things. Eric Ayala, Hakeem Hart, and Dante Scott. Eric Ayala had 26 points. For 7 straight games, he's had 16 or more points. I like that. That's when they're starting to heat up. And I have to give him that. Hakeem Hart House had 18 points, 2 steals. Now, Kadas Wahib and Julian Reese, they did not have good games. Wahib only had 4 points, and he fouled out of the game against Illinois. He had a donut in 10 minutes. Julian Reese found him, same thing, foul trouble late in the game where we needed him the most, where I feel like we needed him. And he only played 12 minutes, had 2 points, 2 rebounds, and 4 fouls. And then when it was under 3 minutes, he fouled out the game. That's disappointing. I'm happy Maryland got his first win. We're number one. Not number one. We beat the number one school. Our first win our number one win, our first win in the conference against Northwestern. We lost to them before, Iowa, Illinois, and Wisconsin, and we got some payback. But we got Rutgers today, and I'm actually hopefully better that they'll win. But the way that happened, for us to even get into overtime when we had the lead, that was off. That was awful basketball to watch. So we played Rutgers. Maryland, the fellas are starting to look okay. The biggest issue that I had was our ability to close games. Like, for the first 50, it took us 50 minutes to win the game. Unfortunately, we're 1-4, and we have to play the Scarlet Knights. Now, a couple things. I looked at their roster, and interesting. They got Ron Harper Jr. He's the leading scorer. He averages 15 points a game. And the last 4 games, he's actually kind of been up and down. It's just like really, I don't know how to explain it. Then they have a center. His name is Clifford Omayori. Maryland has a difficult job of defending its best players. He's 6'11". It's a big boy. He's averaging 7.5 rebounds, and he's also averaging 12 points a game. He's also shooting 60% from the field. You got someone also here, the top 3 players, to me, I think, was Geno Baker. Rutgers is 9-6. They just actually beat Purdue on a buzzer beater, I think it was, and then Michigan as well at home. But they've actually, they're not that great a road team. They lost to DePaul, Lafayette, UMass, Illinois, and they just lost to Penn State. They lost to the Nittany Lions, and they only put up 49 points in that game.
Relationship with your
Oh,
children.
my God.
Damn. And I saw that. I was like, wow, 49 points. I just did the math, too. I'm sorry. Now, biggest things I'm looking for. The momentum, obviously, is the key. I'm looking at this Terrapin squad. It's a home game. hopefully what they took away from the Northwestern game will carry over into this game. Like, we're gonna have to find ways to win this game, whether it's on the defensive side of the ball, whether it's on the offensive side of the ball, where we're making shots, we're not getting into defensive. We're struggling defensively against their center, because we're going to get him in foul trouble, get him out the game early, and we're going to limit his shot selection. Take him out. We're going to take him offensively out the game and get him in foul trouble on the defensive side. When we're on the offensive side for us. Now, I'm looking at Kadarius Wahid and Julian Reese. I believe in what these guys can bring to the table. But the last 3 games, I'm looking at Wahid. He's not looked good. He's only had 8 points. Julian Reese, since we played Lehigh, he has only looked that great neither. Like, I'm looking at those two to really I need these two to really step it up. And I think they're the keys to winning the game. Eric Aller, I predict he's going to have over 20 points. I think he's going to have at least 24, 25. I think that's the key. Those are the keys for Maryland to win. But I'm going to say the Maryland Terrapins squeak a win against the Scarlet Knights, 86-79.
Guaranteed.
Let's transition to the Lady Terps. We play we play Michigan. And this actually should be interesting. I'm going to tell you why. Because they're ranked 11th and we're ranked number 8. The biggest thing for me in this game is this will be an interesting defensive matchup game. I'm looking at Maryland. We're going up against a team that's 14-2. They're 5-1 in the Big Ten. Last time we played was back against Minnesota. That was a couple Sundays ago. Michigan. I'm sorry. They've got some scores. They've got some girls that can play. And again, I just want to pinpoint this out. I think Maryland knows what it has to do to win this game. It starts with the defense. I think defense dictates the tone for the game. That's just me. Because my concern with Maryland is, we talked about it, they turn the ball over quite a bit. And they're going to have to cut down turnovers. I'm looking for Angel Reese, Mimi Collins to have big games. I think Diamond Miller is going to be Diamond Miller. Ashley Wansu is going to be it's going to take a collective effort for us to put these girls away. I think Maryland, again, I think the focus should be defense. It should be. Because they got, what's her name, Leah Brown. I mean, she can. She could be a future WNBA prospect, in my opinion. But they're just going to – it starts with the defense. I think if they do that, I think the Lady Terps can surprise Michigan. And I think they will. Expect the Lady Terps to have a good game defensively. Offensively, like I said, cut on the turnovers. Look for Ashley, Diamond, Angel, Mimi, all of them that have at least over. I said you're going to have at least. I said you're going to have 5. All 5 players are going to have double digits in scoring. So I'm going to say the Lady Terps are going to beat the Wolverines. It's going to be a close one. I'm going to say 85-77.
Guaranteed.
Okay. Let me move into Towson basketball really quick. Towson, the men. I got to give the men a shout out because we actually tied the record for the most threes against Hoffersham, 13 threes, and we beat them 78-66. We played Alon today at 4. It's an away game. We're in North Carolina. I think the Towson Tigers will beat them 81-61.
Guaranteed.
Let me go to the women because I think the women have had the unfortunate pleasure, but they've had the most games lost. And unfortunately, the winning streak was snapped. We lost to Princeton University 68-54. Next game is against James Madison University. Well, I think that'll be a bounce back win for us. It's a home game. I think, we're coming off a big win. We're coming off a win against William & Mary. Princeton's nothing. They got a good little basketball team, but yeah. So we're fall 11-2. I think we're a better. The girls are a better home team than they're on the road. But unfortunately, they've had the unfortunate pleasure. They've had most 4, 5. 3 canceled games and 2 postponed. So we got James Madison on Sunday. That's going to be on Flow Hoops. I think the Lady Tigers will beat James Madison University 77-54.
Guaranteed.
Go Tigers. Go Terps. Let's transition into the WNBA. It's now 4:15 in the morning, which is like 1:15 like on the West Coast. W free agency has started. I'm scared. It's day 1. So it is day 1 of the free agency. I'm kind of just really curious to see what's going to end up happening. I really am. I'm nervous. So with that being said, this is how we're going to close it out. So this is my recommendations for each team. So I did my research for all 12 teams. The Atlanta Dream, they have the most cap. They have the most free agents. They're not bringing back Courtney Williams and Crystal Bradford because of what happened during the Olympic break. Tiffany Hayes is supposed to be a free agent. They waived Tiana Hawkins, which made absolutely no sense to me. So all you have left is Ari McDonald, Kennedy Carter, Cheyenne Parker, and they have the rights. I can't think of her name off the top of my head. Then you got Elizabeth Williams, Monique Billings, who's restricted, and Odyssey Simpson, the free agency. I don't really expect much to happen with Atlanta. I don't see Atlanta really making that big moves. The biggest thing, my question is, they're going to have to figure what they're going to do with Katie Carter. I think the way that's been handled, I think it's just not good. I think they'll get a couple of free agents, but nothing where it's going to be like splash. It's going to be like, oh my God, sweep you off your feet. I think that the former number 1 overall pick, she came out of Louisville and she's from the DMV. Angel McCoughtry will re-sign with the Atlanta Dream.
Guaranteed.
Yeah. They got a new GM, Dan Padover. Tanisha Wright is a head coach. So I think Atlanta's got a bright future. I think they know what they got to do, but we'll see what happens with free agency. Chicago. You got Vandersloot. They just cored Kalia Copper. So we'll see what that is. It's only a 1-year deal. It's like over $200 something like that. Quigley, Dolson, Steffi Dolson, and Diamond DeShields are also free agents. Pretty much this team, they should still be together. Other than Dana Evans, Azrae Stevens, and Candace Parker, and Lexi Brown, I think it is. Is it Lexi Brown? I can't think of the top of my head. I don't remember. I know they have 4 protected veterans. I want to say it's Ruthie. I want to say it's her. For the most part, this team should stay together. Because, again, this same team last season made $560,000. So we'll see. Again, I'm looking at the fact that Candace Parker is going to be 36, Allie Quigley is going to be 35, and Vanessa is going to be 33. Both Kalia Cooper and Courtney Vanessa could get cored. We'll see. I just think that, to me, it's just whatever happens. Again, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. That's just me. I definitely think Steffi Dolson should be back. That's Diamond DeShields. I don't think she's regressed. I don't know where. I mean, she suffered an injury in the bubble last year, so I don't think she's regressed. So I think she'll have a bigger year. Connecticut. So they actually have a little over $500,000 in cap. The biggest free agent is Brianne January. They cored her on Monday, and the core offer was $228,000. So, which is it's weird. It's a 1-year deal. I don't understand that. So which most tells me she's going to decline and go try to get a long-term deal. I think she is the biggest piece to the team. However, I would like to make this point. Jonquel Jones, DeWanna Bonner, and Alyssa Thomas have only played 2 regular season games together.
Relationship with your
Oh
children.
my God.
That was an interesting statistic that I found. I was like, whoa. Because me personally, I still believe this is Alyssa Thomas's team. I just feel like when she came back, I feel like she kind of took away some of the momentum. I feel like even with her not there, they maintained the number 1 seed throughout the year. I definitely do think they need to address the 3-point shooting. I mean, I know what Brianne January and Jasmine Thomas are capable of, but I think they do need another scorer in the backcourt. Maybe it's Dejanay Carrington this year. We'll see. Natisha Henderman, I think they're all good players, but I think the biggest thing is their backcourt. Because if they core Jonquel, which I don't think Jonquel will accept that offer, that's going to be tough to keep Brianne January. And no, I don't think they need to trade anybody. I think Connecticut has the team. It's right there. And they're my sleeper team to go to the finals this upcoming season. But that's your big 3: Jonquel Jones, DeWanna Bonner, Alyssa Thomas. DeWanna Bonner is a champion. We all know what she's going to go out there. We all know the type of player that she is. We all know what she's going to be like. And Jonquel Jones, who was disappointing in the against Chicago. We know the type of player that she can be. She was an MVP for a reason. Now, like I said, that's just what they did with Connecticut. The Dallas Wings, I got to give the Dallas Wings this respect in this regard. This youth movement is real. I feel like they shouldn't make any adjustments to what they're doing. If they want to, they can try to find somebody like a veteran. I was shouting at Christina Williams. I was in last night. I was in the green room. They were talking about what they could do. Just ideas. Look, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Give it another year. The Dallas Wings, I believe they are a true playoff team.
Guaranteed.
I mean, they continue to do what they're doing, where they're building around Seitu Sabali. They're building around her, Enrique Gubawale, Marina Raybri. I expect the number 1 overall pick and Charlie Collar to have a better year than what she had. I mean, if they want to make some wiggle room, then they can find ways to either move Mariah Jefferson, Kayla Thornton, or Isabel Harrison if they wanted to. But I feel like regardless, I think this team right now in the current state it's in, I think the Dallas Wings are okay. I mean, you got Bella Allaire, Ty Harris. And also, I mean, even though they just waived the second round pick this past 2020, I mean, they got a little under $80,000 in cap. So I feel like they got it. I mean, I think I think you kind of have some veteran presence. You got Kayla Thornton, Mariah Jefferson, and Isabel Harris. I think that's your veteran presence right there. I mean, I don't know what you're looking for. I mean, you could maybe go after Nika Gumake. That's going to be tough. I mean, you're going to be trading everything, including the kitchen and the house and all that. So, well, we'll see. The Indiana Fever. I feel like this team is set. They have a little over $430,000 in the cap. Jessica Breland's supposed to be a free agent. Julie Allman, Lindsay Allen, and Victoria Vivians. Let me just say this. I think it's completely unfair to question. I think the Indiana Fever have the squad. Okay, Kelsey Mitchell. I don't know what people more expect from her. She's a scoring guard, and I know what to me, I think she is starting to put it together. Watch out. She's going to be an all-star this coming up season. I have her as a sleeper all-star.
Guaranteed.
You got Tiffany Mitchell, Tiara McCowan. You're getting Kaiser Gondrzik back. You're getting some pieces that you missed. Now, I do think that I don't think you need to sign any more guards. I think you could probably keep Lindsay Allen if you wanted to, but you're getting Aaliyah Wilson back and Kaiser. So I mean that's a loaded backcourt. I do feel like Indiana should not look for any more players that are past their prime. For example, I personally think Jantel Lavender and Danielle Robinson were signed as veteran presence for the team. That's just my opinion. But yeah, I don't really understand those moves. They need someone. I think the biggest thing they're going to address is someone playing alongside Tiara McCowan. And I feel like that could be Betty Hattar. That's just me, because I think the experiment with Tiara McCowan and Lauren Cox was just not smart. And again, they get Victoria Vivians back, who can shoot the ball. Look, the Fever, they got a squad. I just don't really know who could you cut to get that one player. I think they're just one piece away. But again, I think they have the team. I mean, I just feel like they can. I mean, I think really they lack as a 4. They need a 4 or a 5, but I just think they have. I think they have it right there. I do. So I think Indiana's okay, but Jessica Breland, as great as she was, she's a good veteran, but it was time to move on from her. I think regardless of where she goes, I think she definitely she brings some better presence. But I think if you're trying to build something right now, yeah, it's not going to work. Las Vegas Aces, simple. Move on from Liz Cambage. She actually just fired her agent too, right before free agency. So that should be interesting to see how she negotiates her contract. Look, quoting the regular Ravens fan, you can apply this to any sport. Stretch your eyes. This same team without Liz Cambage got to the finals. And again, I'm on the record. If De'Arica Hamby doesn't get hurt, against Seattle, the Las Vegas Aces are the champions of the Wubble.
Guaranteed.
That's just my opinion. The biggest thing is they're going to lock Asia Wilson up for years. Because I just think Liz Cambage is going to want so much money. I think I understand we haven't seen any WNBA player score as many points as Liz Cambage. I get that. But I feel like, to me, I feel like she doesn't really truly realize her potential, what she can be. I know the type of player she can be, but I don't know. I just feel like they've gotten that far without her, and I think they can find something else. I do. Kelsey Plum and Chelsea Gray, they're locked for years to come. I mean, not years ago. They're locked currently on their contracts. You got Jackie Young, Destiny Slocum. Becky Hammond talked about she definitely wants someone who is a three-point shooter. So Courtney Williams could be an interesting signing. Maybe I would prefer – oh, you don't need any more guards. Maybe Shakina Strickland, because she's supposed to be a free agent. So, yeah, I think that's the biggest thing, is just looking for someone in the front court to play alongside Asia. But personally, it's best they move on from Liz Cambage. It's nothing against her, but if they can find a way to persuade Asia Wilson to come, Asia McCarthy to come back, that should be interesting. She probably could go to Liz Cambage should probably go to a team like New York or Los Angeles. But Los Angeles, they don't have the money. They're gonna have to really figure some things out. They got their work cut out for them. That's not even funny. And also too, they have the Las Vegas Aces have a little under 725,000 in the cap. So, and if they core her, Liz Cambage, she's going to take up a majority of that money. So, the Los Angeles Sparks, they have a little under 160,000. Nia Coffey, Tia Cooper, and Maria Vanderveer. Her contract actually expired, suspended. She's another one, just like Emma Mieseman. I think they actually play on the same team together, if I'm not mistaken. They offered Lauren Cox, was it the qualifying offer? I believe it was, and she accepted it. They got Gabby Williams. So Derek Fisher has his work cut out for him. I don't think you can let Candace Parker, Chelsea Gray walk and don't make the playoffs. Not once, but twice. Biggest thing is staying healthy. I mean, you have the Gumike sisters who biggest thing is their health. They got to, if they stay healthy, I think that the Sparks are a playoff team. But they definitely definitely need somebody. Now, I did say that Liz Cambage could be an option. I looked at the roster for the Sparks, and it's going to be kind of tough. This is either going to be one or two ways. Christy Tolliver, Janae Gumake, and or Amanda Zari-B. It would that's I mean because they make the most. That's how I looked at it. To cut corners, yeah, that's enough to free up the cap to give her a supermax. But me personally, I don't think Derek Fish. My concern is, I mean, it's LA, and I think you get distracted in LA. That's just my opinion. There's certain cities, if I'm a free agent, I'm not playing for. I'm just not. It's nothing personal against the team, but the cities itself, there's certain cities you just play in, it's just dangerous to me because you get distracted really easily. I don't think Miranda Vita V is going to come back. I don't. So that's out. That's out the door. Ted Cooper will most likely stay with the Sparks. I mean, they don't have a first-round pick because they traded to Dallas, which was beyond crazy to me. So you can't depend on the draft to help you compete for 2022. The Sparks, they might have to low-key cut corners. They might have to. I mean, they're going to have to retool. They're going to have to let go of some of the current. I mean, they had to let some girls go and probably retool the roster. But I don't think I just don't think Liz Cambage should be the answer. If you pull her, if you get Liz Cambage to the Sparks, I think that's probably the best move Derek Fisher's made. But if you do, you're going to have to really cut corners to really get some pieces around her and compete. But somebody's going to have to go, unfortunately, for it to happen. Let's move on to the Minnesota Lynx. Lashea Clarendon and Sylvia Follows are the two biggest free agents, and they have a little over $430,000 in cap. I like the additions of Natalie Achonwa, Kayla McBride, and obviously AP, aka Aerial Powers. I don't expect them to make that many moves this offseason. I don't. The biggest thing is I want to see if I'm Cheryl Reeves, and really quick shout to her. She promoted Katie Smith to associate head coach. I like that. It's a good move. The biggest thing is let's see where Sylvia is at because she's 35, and she actually this was actually the best season she had. And Lashea Clarendon, obviously for depth and some leadership. I like it. I mean, the only thing I can see, they probably just need some inside presence. I think to hold it down until Nafisa Collier comes back. Nafisa Collier, comes back because she's probably going to miss probably the first half of the season because she's pregnant. So I think that's the key. If re-signing both of them, if you can do that, I think Minnesota can make a deep playoff run. I mean, defensive player of the year, and then she led alongside Nafisa with 16 points, and then the 11 games Lashea was there. She really was a part of that 8-game win streak. So they have the cap to really keep everybody, but I mean, I think the Minnesota Lynx, they're not going to really do much. They're probably just going to sign one or two players and keep it moving. But I think the biggest thing is to see what Sylvia. I think it all depends on what Sylvia Follows is going to do. And I think the Minnesota Lynx have it all right there. I think they actually are another team that I have sleeping going to the finals. Let's move on to that team in New York, the New York Liberty. Biggest thing is I looked Rebecca Allen as probably the key free agent. Now that you've got the new head coach and Sandy Brondello, even though we can all talk about, well, wasn't surprised with Walt Hopkins getting fired. I was not surprised because there was a lot of things I just was not feeling with him as the head coach. I think Coach Brondello brings a different type of flavor to the Liberty. I think you got a good core. Sabrina Ionescu, Benijah Laney. You got the reigning Rookie of the Year, Michaela Onyewer, Dee Dee Richards, Rashonda Gray, Sammy Wickham. They got a squad. They do. And also to Natasha Howard. Excuse me, I apologize. I forgot about him. I could not forget about her. I think they're building. The biggest thing, I think just biggest keys was, I got to see what you can get for Rebecca. We see what Rebecca Allen wants. I think that's the key. The biggest key also for New York is staying healthy. We're getting Asia Durr back, who's missed practically 2 years of basketball due to COVID. I think that's key. I do like the fact that if they were to go after somebody to play alongside Howard, because Howard plays the 4, it's obviously going to be a center, and most likely it's going to be Liz Cambage. But let's not talk. Actually, no. I'm gonna hold it off for the Mystics. That's okay, because they have obviously the Australian basketball team connection. So most likely she's gonna try to go after her. I think because of the injuries, I think for the Liberty, my concern is the injuries. Can this team stay healthy going forward to compete? Again, if they want to get at someone like Liz Cambage, they're going to have to cut some corners, rework some deals. So we'll see. I think there's a lot of work. I think Coach Bardello definitely has her work cut out for her. I definitely think she can do some things with that Liberty team. Now, the Phoenix Mercury, they have a little under $250,000 in cap. Head scratcher. They gave Shea Petty a training camp contract. They waived Megan Walker, which was weird to me, and they gave pretty much. I think they're going to move. I think they're confident with Sophie Cunningham and Kia Nurse. I think those were your 3 best players. The type of season that Shea Petty had, she gets a training camp contract.
So when are we going to say something about it? You know what? I'm going to walk away. I'll be right back because I'm scared I'm going to say something that might get me in trouble because I'm pissed. I'm pissed.
I think she's better than a training camp contract. Now, the only player, unfortunately, that the Phoenix could let go is unfortunately the lovely Kia Vaughn, because she makes over $110,000. That's the contract that she has. That's a non-guaranteed contract. That's probably it if they want to make a move. But also, too, they still haven't – we don't know who the head coach of the Phoenix Mercury is going to be. I would have thought by now they would have had their coach, because I think whoever the head coach is, I think that kind of sets the tone for the team, particularly for what Diana Taurasi wants to do. But personally, I think Phoenix, they're going to have to. There's some things they can address. I'm curious to see how they're going to look with Kia Nurse coming off of the ACL injury, I want to see how they're going to handle that for sure. I feel like they're going to give her the Bria Hartley treatment. They're not going to rush her back. They're going to make sure she's rehabbed, she's good to go when they're ready. When she's ready, then they're ready. They're going to re-sign her and get her back out there when she's ready to play. I don't see. I mean, teams can probably give her a contract, but I think that the Phoenix Mercury, they're going to re-sign Sophie Cunningham and Kia Nurse. They're going to re-sign them because again, they have a good backcourt. They can shoot the three, and they're both good. Hustle. I think that's the key. Now, the Seattle Storm, they have the most cap throughout all 12 teams. Jordan Canada, Joe Lloyd, Mercedes Russell, Brianna Stewart, and the GOAT, Sue Bird. She's coming back for one more year.
I'm not going to even sit here and act like I didn't know this was coming. Or act like I know this was coming because I did it.
This is the last dance for the Bird. Now they did get fined for tampering. It's not. I shouldn't laugh. I'm sorry. The Seattle Storm got fined for tampering. I'm surprised the Atlanta Dream didn't get fined neither, but that's neither here nor there. But let me get back on the Seattle Storm. I definitely. Oh man, excuse me. I apologize. I definitely do think the key for Seattle is just pretty much the big three. They have to be resigned. I can't see Jordan Lloyd and Brianna Stewart moving on. Brianna Stewart and Jewel Lloyd are your when I said it when Sue Bird calls it a career, those are the two you're building around. And they have the cap to pretty much bring everybody back. When Jewel Lloyd, not Jewel, when Sue Bird, says, "I'm done. Thank you for what this league has brought. What this league I've done for the league," and she's ready to call it a career and chill with Megan Rapinoe. Jordan, look out for Jordan Canada to really be Sue Bird's replacement. Guaranteed. They core Jewel Lloyd, so I'll be surprised to see what she does. Sue Bird's made it clear that she's going to take less money. So I feel like if they could just, if they want to look for somebody younger, I'd say probably the most expandable player on that roster is Epiphany Prince, and they could re-sign her to the minimum, but I doubt that would happen. The biggest thing is keep the core together, and I'll be surprised if they let Jewel Lloyd walk. I would be really surprised. So we'll see. And finally, the most painful part of the podcast. No, I'm just kidding. My Washington Mystics. We come in with a little under $460,000 in the cap. Tina Charles is a free agent. Emma Meesum is a free agent. Maisha Hines-Allen's restricted. Leilani Mitchell, Shatori Walker Cameron was a free agent. Where do I begin? Tina Charles came off arguably the best year she had. I feel like she was an MVP candidate, and I'm not being sarcastic. She was the scoring champion for the season. I'm not being sarcastic when I say that. We didn't have Lena Deladon for 2 years. That's a fact. I am kind of scared to know. I don't know what is going through her mind. I feel like Tina's going to walk. That's just me. If she stays, the Mystics have got their work cut out for them because they're going to have to figure some things out. Now, personally, I have been on the record, and I'm going to continue to say it and preach to the cows come home. It is best for this Mystic team to just start over again. Scrap it. Your core is Errol Atkins and Maisha Hines-Allen. I think you're going to get. I think they both in the bubble again. My eyes don't lie. Maisha Hines-Allen made all first team. So did Errol and also Errol Atkins. Like my eyes, I know these two. I know what they're capable of. And she has a better upside. I'm sorry, she made all second team. This team, I just my concern is we signed Tina and it's right back to square one. You got the number one overall pick. I would be surprised. The number one overall pick is going to come down to Ryan Howard or Nalasia Smith.
Guaranteed.
Natasha Cloud getting the contract, I'm for it, but I feel like Washington can just start all over again. And again, I'm looking at Emma Meeseman. She hasn't played. She didn't play at all last year. I mean, she was overseas. And me personally, I hate to say it, but I'm not going to commit to somebody that's not committed to the team. I mean, she has overseas commitments. I respect that. Oh, she's doing well. It's unfortunately, but sad. But me personally, if I was Mike, I'm moving on. I can't wait for her. I mean, that I know that may sound harsh, but I just feel like if I'm trying to win a championship now, I've got Natasha Cloud, Errol Atkins, Alicia Clark, Elena Deladon. I can't really also depend on Elena Deladon as well. I can't because I don't know where she's at. If I'm trying to run it back with them, the biggest keys are for Washington's roster to get healthy. But I'm looking at this team going forward. I guess for me, I look at Dallas. I look at New York. I look at these teams that have started the youth movement. They're built for years to come. I don't want the Washington Mystics to be in a situation where, okay, well, that was egg on his face, and we can't move, we can't trade people because of contracts. Start over again and keep it from there. I'm looking at a couple options. I'm surprised we're not talking about like a Kalani Brown could be back in the WNBA. She's in playing shape. Alana Coates, also too in playing shape. Me personally, they're two options. If I'm the Mystics, I would look at not just the Mystics, other options like LA could run it back with Kalani Brown if they wanted to. But personally, like I said, Washington needs some inside presence. And like I said, I'm moving on from Elena Deladon and Tina Charles. There's no disrespect, but facts are facts. 2 years Deladon hasn't played because of her back injury, and I understand that. But I just feel like if you're trying to keep everybody, you have 5 unrestricted free agents and 1 restricted. You can't re-sign everybody. It's definitely I can't see it being Leilani Mitchell because I feel like they could go younger at point guard. That's just me. I mean, they had one, but I'm let that go. I mean, if you get a healthy Elena Deladon and Tina Charles with a healthy Alicia Clark, Natasha Cloud, Errol Atkins, Maisha Hines-Allen, and you can address the bench alongside Erica McCall and Sydney Weiss and Megan Gustafson, depending on if she makes the team. And you have the number 1 overall pick. I think the Washington Mystics, They have the team. They are a team that could be a force to be reckoned with.
Guaranteed.
But my concern is I don't expect us to fully commit to Deladon and say, "Hey, lead us to the promised land." I just don't. And me personally, by doing that, is starting completely over. I think just build for the future. I know that may be painful, but I don't know. I just can't see what I've seen these last 2 years. I can't see that. I'm just going to keep preaching. I'm going to be consistent with that point. Just build for the future. So yeah, that's day one of free agency. We'll see what happens. I'm a little scared. I honestly am, because I don't know what to expect. Let the chaos begin. This is episode 13. Yes, of the podcast. We are 3 hours into the podcast, and we're going to end the episode because it is going on 5 o'clock in the morning, and I'm going to get some sleep. But if you like the video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Topics you would like me to discuss on the podcast. Also, consider hitting that subscribe button along with notification bells on. I appreciate the support I have been getting on the channel. We're on the road to greatness. Thank you all. I hope each and everyone have a good weekend. Stay safe. Continue to look out for one another. And let's make tomorrow a better day. A couple of things, announcements for the next episode, which is Tuesday. We're going to recap the wild card games. And then we're just going to continue to just follow, obviously, the Wizards, Maryland basketball, WNBA, and yeah, see what happens. But until then, y'all, it's your boy, Nate. I'm out. Y'all have a good weekend. Stay up.
Listen, I'm easy to find. And listen, they can kiss my ass if they don't like it.